With your permission, Your Excellency, will remain standing, and I would like at this point to invite Susan Sawe, who's going to lead us in a short word of prayer. Welcome.
Shall we bow down and pray? The good book says that the earth is the Lord's and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein. Dear Lord, we are grateful to you today as we humbly acknowledge this truth from your word, even as we thank you for our land, Kenya, and the blessing of rains. Lord, may our land be fertile and plentiful. We thank you for this gathering today through the leadership of the America Chamber of Commerce for the meeting of minds, congruence of thoughts and ideas shared for the advancement of this country and the region. Thank you for all the corporates, the U.S. delegations, and companies represented here today. We are grateful, O God, for their contribution and dedication to add value and provide solutions. We ask that you continue to bless them, lead them, and guide them and their leadership teams. And Lord, we are privileged and are grateful for our President, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, and his entire administration. We are grateful that through his leadership, we have continued to enjoy a robust and improved business environment amidst the various challenges within and outside our country. We pray, O Lord, that you may continue to grant him wisdom and courage to lead, and that ultimately, O God, your name will be glorified. We acknowledge your goodness today and always, and therefore we ask all this, trusting and believing in the Almighty God. Amen.
We may now take our seats. Your Excellency, the President of this great nation, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industry, Honorable Moses Kuria, all Cabinet Secretaries present, all Principal Secretaries present, CAS is present, Ambassador to the U.S., Her Excellency Meg Whitman, all members of the Diplomatic Corps, AmCham leadership, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Your Excellency, sir, with your permission, at this point, I would like to invite Brenda Mbathi, who is the AmCham Board President, to make her welcoming remarks and also take us through the rest of the program. Welcome. Why don't we put our hands together as we welcome her? Welcome, Madam President.
Thank you. It's going to be difficult to follow on Susan's prayer. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, our President of the Republic of Kenya. I know when I started yesterday, I read a very long list. I'm not going to do that this afternoon. I will follow with excellencies and dignitaries here present, delegates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It's truly my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to the closing session of our third AmCham Business Summit. We are grateful to you, Mr. President, for honoring our invitation and making the time to be with us at the culmination of our summit. It's been a very exciting 2 days of engaging in focused discussions, exploring new ideas, and opportunities to enhance the two-way trade and investment between the US, Kenya, and indeed the region to shape a more resilient future. I once again want to thank all our partners, and I just say this from the bottom of my heart. The US government, the government of Kenya, the governments of Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Ethiopia, the US Chambers Africa Business Center, the AmChams who have come here today from Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Ethiopia, our sponsors, especially our platinum sponsors, and all those who made this summit, I believe, one of the best, most successful AmCham business summits that we've had to date. Mr. President, we applaud your leadership and your efforts to drive inclusive and sustainable economic growth in Kenya. We appreciate your commitment to enhance the investment climate and make businesses thrive. Indeed, American companies continue to invest in the Kenyan economy, and American companies have been here a long, long time. And our growing investment is evidence of our firm belief in Kenya's economic potential and to the viability of existing opportunities. AmCham members are involved across multiple sectors in Kenya and contribute to the creation of jobs and enhancements of the local skills base. They also facilitate the transfer of technology, knowledge, and boost the competitiveness of local firms and enable their access to the markets. I can say, without a doubt, that US companies deliver long-term, sustainable economic prosperity with meaningful social impact. And this was documented in AmCham's Force for Good sustainability report that we launched yesterday. US companies focus on long-term, mutually beneficial relationships. They're sensitive to the needs of and build the local communities in which we operate. US companies are a force for good. Therefore, Mr. President, it is only fitting that in the culmination of all our efforts to further strengthen the existing commercial ties between the United States and Kenya, and in particular to promote increased US commercial participation and investment in Kenya's economy, that we wish to formalize this effort in a memorandum of understanding for US-Kenya business dialogue that would establish a close working relationship between the US Embassy, KenInvest, and AmCham Kenya to carry out joint two-way trade and investment promotion, related activities, and to identify and promote opportunities for bilateral trade and investment. So at this point, it is my honor to invite to the stage Honorable Moses Kuria, our Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. And I have to say, Your Excellency, CS Kuria has been with us since 7 o'clock yesterday morning and has had an open door policy. We truly applaud him. Thank you so much, CS Kuria. I'd also like to invite to stage the PS Abubakar Hassan from the same ministry, again, a true partner with us, and has joined the CS. PS Abubakar, you may stand behind the CS. Indeed, the chairman for KenInvest, Madam Sally Mahehu. The CEO of KenInvest, the acting CEO, June Chepkemei. Sorry. James Pott, the economic counselor for the US Embassy. Ambassador Meg Whitman, you will come and stand as a witness behind James. Maxwell Okello, our Chief Executive Officer for AmCham Kenya, who's done an absolutely wonderful job for the last 2 days. And I'm his witness, so I'm going to leave the podium, stand behind him before I return. maybe you could just stand for some photos. I would now like to ask you to leave the stage. And now, may I invite the US Ambassador to Kenya. We call her our US Ambassador to Kenya, Ambassador Meg Whitman, to share her remarks. Thank you.
Well, great to be back with everyone this afternoon, and I'm delighted that President Ruto is with us today, and I know we are all looking forward to your remarks. I hope the last couple of days has answered the question of why Africa, why, there you go. It's been a great event, and thanks to AmCham and all the partners for making this such a huge success. And I'd like to now welcome on stage for his closing remarks our head of the United States delegation, the Undersecretary of Commerce for Minority Business Development, Don Cravens, Jr. Don's visit here is historic. He is the first ever Undersecretary for Minority Business Development, and this is his first visit to Kenya and his first visit to Africa. Don has brought a great delegation with him, and a big thank you to Don and all the officials who have joined us here today. Please help me welcome Don onto the stage.
Hello. It's so good to be here, Mr. President, members of your ministry, your cabinet, to my colleagues from the United States government. And I've been wanting to say this all week, all protocols considered. I love that. I'm bringing that back with me to D.C. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. President, for having me, and to AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, for putting together this wonderful, wonderful event this week, and for bringing together so many leaders from around the world. As the ambassador said, Mr. President, I'm leading a trade mission of U.S. businesses as well as a team of U.S. government colleagues from several departments and agencies. I want to recognize these women who have joined me because, as the ambassador said to you earlier, this is a very important delegation from our country, and I hope that it symbolizes to you what it symbolizes to me, and I think to the ambassador. I want to recognize Ms. Rita Jo Lewis, who serves as the president and chair of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. Also, I want to recognize Director Eno Ebong of the United States Trade and Development Agency. And from my fellow department, the Department of Commerce, I want to recognize the International Trade Administration's Deputy Assistant Secretary, Camille Richardson. And then last but not least, I want to recognize our Regional Senior Commercial Officer, Ms. Cynthia Griffin. We've got other great officials who are here as well, sir, and so I thank them as well. Like my home in Maryland, I am surrounded by a wife and 2 daughters, and so this trip was very reminiscent of home, where I've got these powerful African-American women telling me where to be, and I understood who to listen to. I also want to thank our ambassador, our U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Ms. Meg Whitman, for her tireless leadership in advancing the U.S.-Kenya relationship. Looking around this room and in meetings with some of you in attendance, I can sense the momentum she has created. Finally, I'd like to thank you, sir, Mr. President, and for sharing the stage with me today and for allowing us to be here, and your commitment for deepening the relationship between our 2 countries. Your ministry officials and the people of Kenya have been wonderful hosts to me and our team over the past 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of the U.S.-Kenya relationship and the U.S.-Africa relationship is bright. There is so much I could say about my trip. As an African American, and people told me I would get emotional, coming to the continent for the first time has personally transformed me, Mr. President. as a government official, I've learned a great deal about Africa's vital place in the world and about the close relationship between the U.S., Kenya, and the countries across Africa. But today I want to focus on two themes. And I promise you, when I wrote this speech in America, I had two questions. Why Africa? But the ambassador spoke first. She got me. So I'm going to change it a little bit. I want to focus on two things, Mr. President. A focus on the people of Africa and your young, dynamic, growing population, which make it the ideal center for growth. And second, I want to focus on why it's essential that we continue to strengthen our ties between our two great nations. These themes go hand in hand, and in order to achieve our potential as partners, we must position our eager entrepreneurs as the driving force of our mission. That includes our leading companies in major industries, which many of them are represented here, but it also includes our small businesses that are breaking ground, and it also includes our women businesses, our next generation businesses, and our diaspora businesses. Earlier this week, I met with the Kayana Cooperative, an organization dedicated to empowering Kenya's women entrepreneurs. I sat down with their leadership and some of the women who have businesses and built their businesses as a result. One thing that struck me, sir, is when I spoke to these entrepreneurs, it was the extent of Africa's economic future, especially here in Nairobi. While global companies, like many of the men and women who sponsored this wonderful event, are gathered here on the continent and increasing their investment, the reality is that a lot of this growth has to be homegrown. And that's a good thing. It's good for the world. Young Africans are building companies that will not only spur growth and jobs on the continent, but will also be a source of technological process and innovation in America, in Europe, in Asia, and beyond. As my nation's first Undersecretary of Minority Business Development, I work every day with business owners of color, with many diaspora-owned businesses and many businesses owned by black women. I see the same drive that I saw here, the drive to succeed, the desire to contribute to something bigger, to the community, to our counties, to our states, to our nations. And I see that here in Kenya. They just want a shot, Mr. President. They just want a chance. They just want some equity. They want an opportunity to create something that strengthens their country and uplifts their community. It is essential that the government of Kenya and those of other African countries continue to support the ecosystem of young entrepreneurs to help unlock and spur Africa's economic potential. The second point I'll make here today is that the U.S. stands firmly with you and with the citizens of Kenya in this endeavor. While Africa is poised for a new economic era, one that will reverberate in the U.S. as well as globally, we know that making the most of this opportunity is not always easy, sir. It's a daunting task. President Biden and the U.S. government are committed to deepening our ties between the U.S., Kenya, and Africa, to strengthening the links between our companies and our markets, and to offering the economic support needed to seize this opportunity. I'm pleased to report that last year, the United States became the largest market for Kenyan goods. Across Africa, the United States is by far the most significant provider of venture capital investment. In 2021, across the more than $5 billion in venture funding raised by African startups, nearly 70% of the investments were from American firms. We know we can do more. We commit to do more. And as we talked to you in December at the U.S.-Africa Business Forum and at the African Leaders Summit last December, that was an important launching point. To sustain the momentum, though, sir, we're going to keep working hard, and we need effort on both sides. Vice President Harris is here on the continent this week. Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen made a recent visit as well. And now our trip, me with these powerful African-American women. It all underscores, Mr. President, our government's commitment to supporting these ties. We are committed to helping Africa get through some of these pressing challenges. We know we have to work together. So what is clear to me after my time so far in Kenya is that Africa's prosperity is only growing, that its young people are hungry to take advantage of it, and that in many cases they are already doing so. What I hope is clear to all of you here, whether you are from a global NGO, an American company, or the African government, is that we see the opportunity here in Africa, and we are committed to working with all of you to make the most of it. Asante sana. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Don Cravens Jr., for that wonderful speech. And next, I would like to call on stage to come and make his remarks is the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Moses Kuria. Let's give him a warm welcome, please. Welcome.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, my good friend, Ambassador Meg Wichman, my friend Don Cravens, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, and my colleagues, Cabinet Secretaries Murkomen and Eliud Owalo, and as Don has picked from us, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's been a credible 2 days, isn't it? I hope you've had fun. To some extent, I was getting excited when we are coming close to the closing ceremony because of the amount of work that we've done, that we have had to put through the 2 days, and even before when we are preparing for this. And something was telling me that because now it's coming to an end, my walking nightmare in this journey, who has been whipping me and beating me, Ambassador Meg Wichman, is finally got to get off my back. But just when I was celebrating that, another nightmare for me landed from Europe, where the President William Ruto said, there's not going to be a dull moment in this journey. Your Excellency the President, the relations between Kenya and the US is strong and getting stronger. We are now at the final stages, or advanced stages of negotiating our strategic trade and investment partnership between Kenya and the United States. Last month, we had our first round of negotiations, and next month, after the first round in Washington, D.C., we are going to host the U.S. Delegation for the next round of negotiations. It is my hope and desire that by end of this year, we'll become the first African country to sign a strategic trade and investment partnership with the United States of America. And as I said yesterday, this is not a favor that Kenya is doing to the United States. And this is not a favor that the United States is doing to Kenya. This is an expression of so many topics of shared values between Kenya and the United States. Indeed, the topics that we are discussing there, whether it's on diversity, on sustainability, on gender issues, on climate change, on digital trade, on trading services, reflects both the ethos of the Kenyan government and the Biden administration. Your Excellency, when we were in the United States for the US-Africa Summit, you challenged American business to realize that they are actually playing a catch-up game in coming to Africa. And as I said yesterday, there's going to be only two categories of businesses in the world, realizing that Africa is the last frontier of emerging markets. And the first category are businesses that are going to be growing, and that are businesses that are going to be in Africa. And the second category are businesses that are going to be extinct. And I am happy to note that most of you have chosen to be in the first category. Thank you very much. And it's been fun. What a fun it's been. These ladies and gentlemen, these wonderful men and women, just from my own experience and the topics that we've been discussing, are actually voting with their feet on where they need to be. And if Africa is the next frontier, then Kenya is a gateway. And these wonderful people have actually demonstrated that. I've had 22 hours of cumulative engagement with most of you. And some of you are fortunate enough to make it to my deal book. If you didn't make it there, it does not reflect any weakness on your side. It's just that you didn't make it to my deal room, from which we were operating from 8 till 7 a.m. But I'm delighted with some of the possibilities. Just to mention a few, Microsoft, for example. The discussion we've had with Microsoft about working with the Kenya Investment Authority to actually build what we are calling PASHA. PASHA means Inform Me in Swahili, a digital platform for automating the end-to-end investor experience, and creating a one-stop shop for all your problems as businesses. Our discussions, very interesting discussions with Coca-Cola, for example, where we are going to work with Coca-Cola and one of the corporations within my ministry, that is Kenya Development Corporation, to give credits to 100 small and medium enterprises from each of the 47 counties in Kenya, to the tune of $1.1 million as a pilot, and hoping to scale it up. And also to work with Coca-Cola to uptake 60,000 tons of mangoes from farmers across the country as a sign of this partnership. And by the way, using our commodity exchange, which we are at the advanced stages of implementation, Coca-Cola is going to procure the raw materials and the mangoes using this digital platform, which we are going to develop together. Moving on from there, we have US Exim, with whom we've agreed to work together to enable SMEs and other businesses to gain access to affordable credits, and also to work on a sustainability fund as a partnership between the Kenyan government and the US government in the area of climate finance. We also had a wonderful discussion with Visa. Your Excellency, you will recall that we started this discussion with the global CEO of Visa in Washington, D.C. And we are working with Visa and M-Pesa, yes, M-Pesa, using M-Pesa Global to drive diaspora investment, where for the first time, remittances from the diaspora for purposes of investment will not be done through traditional remittances, but as part of e-commerce. And we are very grateful to Visa for this. And further, working with companies like Visa and Microsoft to continue engaging our partners within the East African community, within COMESA, and within the African Continental Free Trade area to encourage our countries to adopt data mobility across the African continent. I am proud to say that the Secretary General of AFCFTA, my brother, Honorable Amkene Men, is here with us, and in fact he addressed this gathering this morning. Kentegra, another very important engagement we had with Kentegra. And Kentegra is now operating from Athi River EPZ, and we are working with them to license them as a standalone export processing zone in Nakuru County. And through this partnership, one, we are going to enable 18,000 farmers to get access to credit for their inputs on a check-off system that is going to be guaranteed by Kentegra. But also, because of this expansion, to give them access to raw materials that are going to ensure that Kenya, through this partnership, is going to account for 30% of pyrethrin trade in the world. A very important achievement. I feel hungry. Yes, we're having discussion. When I stop getting hungry, we'll tell you more. But yes, we are talking with McDonald's. Thank you very much. We have had discussions with Planet, for example. And we're going to work together with our Ministry of Mining to work on geo-mapping of our mineral resources and ensure that we put Kenya on the minerals map. Yes, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we had a very wonderful discussion yesterday on how to knock down the barriers to entry into this market and to continue engaging together with the Kenya Investment Authority, working on the digital platform Pasha that is going to ensure that we have got end-to-end automation of the investor journey and indeed customer fulfillment. GE Health, with whom we've been working together as a country for the last 8 years in the area of managed equipment service. And we are now discussing the next phase of where we go after that. But not just that, but indeed working with GE to see which gaps we can be able to cover within our health value chain. Pfizer, yes, and a very interesting discussion we had with Pfizer. And seeing, I have told Pfizer, And I think they've heard me that Pfizer is indeed a leading company in the world. And the leading company in the world needs to be in the leading country in Africa. And we have been having that discussion. The Department of Commerce, and my brother Don is here after my engagement with the Undersecretary Don the other Don in December in Washington D.C. and we are going to continue working together to encourage American business who want to come to Kenya. Indeed, we look forward to the visit of my colleague, my counterpart Gina Raimondo to Nairobi later this year. And Prosper Africa, very interesting partnership that we're discussing to provide a facility with the Kenya Development Corporation to de-risk businesses so that they can be ready both for financing by banks but also by investors, including most of you who are in this house. And in this regard, we are going to work with Kenya Development Corporation to see how we can be able to deploy this facility. Abbotts, the kings of diagnostics, and we've agreed that it's the time for the kings of diagnostics to come to Kenya is here, and we are taking forward this discussion. The U.S. Trade and Development Agency, very interesting discussion and agreement on how we are going to work on making bankable projects in the area of healthcare, digital transformation, and renewable energy. Again, working with our development finance institutions, that is the Kenya Development Corporation. If you do not make it to my deal book, again, there's another chance. But in a nutshell, Your Excellency the President, I am very delighted by the enthusiasm, by the drive, and by the sheer optimism of American business to be here in Kenya. What I want to assure you from the side of the government of Kenya is that we are open for business. We are here to help you, to facilitate you, and to provide a one-stop solution for all everything that you may need from us. Kenya is indeed open for business. With those few remarks, now it is my pleasure to invite my senior, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, to make his remarks and invite Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moses. Your Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, Your Excellency Meg Whitman, Don, my colleagues, Cabinet Secretaries, business leaders, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be very brief. First of all, I just want to emphasize that we are pro-business. We are pro-private sector. And we would wish to achieve the following: growth, sustainability, and equity as we package ourselves and as we look into the future. Growth, sustainability, and equity. To get to this, we must seek out and partner with responsible friends and responsible partners. Today, Your Excellency, they are ably represented in this hall. So, as I encourage you to come to the podium in a second or so, let me say this. And Madam Whitman, do not tire. We salute you. You've been a good friend, you've been consistent, and the delegation here is a reflection of your confidence in Kenya. It's a vote of confidence in our resilience, in our institutions, and in our president. We truly salute you, and we are ready to work with you and many other partners so that we can achieve growth that is equitable and that is sustainable. May I take this opportunity now to request you to be upstanding so that we can invite His Excellency the President to make his remarks.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take our seats. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, our good friends, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the government and the people of Kenya to welcome all our guests from the US and from all other destinations that have joined us in this very, very important summit between the Kenya government and the American Chamber of Commerce, which I have been informed is a regional summit for East Africa. I am delighted to be here this afternoon for this summit, a unique event that showcases the vibrant, dynamic, and growing Kenya-United States partnership. The American Chamber of Commerce Regional Business Summit reinforces our relationship, which stands firmly on the sound foundation of shared values, including commitment to liberty, democracy, and free enterprise. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, we had a virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden and other world leaders at the Democracy Summit, where I underscored our commitment to constitutionalism and the rule of law and respect for institutions. This summit is important because the government of Kenya has embraced and is aggressively implementing the plan for the bottom-up economic transformation of Kenya. We committed to transform the economy by creating a business-friendly environment. Under our plan, we are building the blocks to create wealth. We are already creating jobs and attracting local and foreign investors. We identified 5 broad sectors in which we shall channel strategic investment to catalyze and maintain high rates of economic growth and performance. The plan, therefore, requires huge investment under various innovative frameworks so as to achieve, among many things, the following. Number 1, to transform our agro-industrial productivity and to enhance our food security. Number 2, to actualize universal health coverage, including the production of medical commodities and biomedical supplies, and I was very happy that I met companies that want to work with us in this space this afternoon. The digital superhighway and last-mile fiber infrastructure. Again, I was very happy to meet tech companies that will take advantage of this platform to enhance e-commerce and to create opportunities for our tech-savvy, youthful population. Of course, the micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises that form the base and the foundation, employing close to 80% of our population, is a critical cog of what we must achieve, while ensuring that we construct at least 200,000 housing units every year, both to create jobs, to expand the economy, and to create livelihoods for millions of our citizens. Underlying these 5 pillars is a commitment to complete an ambitious program of infrastructure development covering transport and communication. I just came back this morning from signing an agreement that will give us about 350 million shillings to do our BRT that will be working on e-mobility. Among various implementation formats that we have adopted, the public-private partnership model has emerged as particularly effective in aligning opportunities with appropriate incentives and in mobilizing necessary finances to achieve win-win outcomes under conditions where we have limited fiscal space, and therefore mobilizing the private sector to come with their expertise and resources so that together we can supply public good is an intervention that we cherish, and I am very confident that this summit has discussed, among other things, the opportunities available in our PPP framework. I am here to invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to seriously consider these opportunities, take advantage of our excellent bilateral relations, and partner with us in this exciting journey. Several reasons which speak to the defining features of the means as well as the ends of this program and projects motivate this invitation. We are particularly interested in ecologically responsible approaches to development and the application of techniques and frameworks which enhance sustainability, strengthen resilience, and promote environmentally responsible productivity. I am confident that in this room, I am speaking to leaders of enterprises whose business propositions combine profitability with sustainability, innovation, and ecological responsibility. I further wish to elaborate on the context of the opportunities on offer in Kenya generally and in the context of our plan. We are, as has been said, the gateway to our region and our continent by virtue of our incomparable geostrategic position. Kenya offers the most advantageous location to set up, whether you are interested in domestic market, East Africa, COMESA, SADC, the Horn of Africa, or anywhere else in the continent of Africa. It is a fact that many global multinational firms, international organizations, and NGOs find Nairobi a rational and strategic choice for their headquarters and operational hubs. They are not wrong, neither would you be. Kenya's advantageous location has been optimally complemented by a nation of well-educated, highly skilled, hospitable, and enterprising people. Communication is easy, and our labor force is famously agile and flexible. Our Kenyan workforce has and remains probably the greatest strength that we have as a nation. In addition to this attractive package of compelling attributes, we have undertaken tremendous investments to develop transport, communication, and energy infrastructure. We are connected by a good network of ports, railways, roads, and airports spread all over the country. Kenya is also supported by a good energy mix that is 92% green and on the way to becoming 100% green by 2032. Wind and geothermal power generation potential is abundant, including hydro generation resources. As you can see, we are not just a gateway by virtue of geographical accident. We are intentional about refining and strengthening our strategic advantage because Kenya is open for business. This is to say that Kenya is interested in and committed to promoting the best operating environment for business enterprises and that our policy and institutional framework is designed to make Kenya the most competitive investment destination. It is also to affirm that we are determined to deliver on every single undertaking, commitment, and pledge that we make to any stakeholder, be they citizens, communities, businesses, or our international partners like the ones we have in this room this afternoon. My friends, Kenya is not only open for business, we also mean business. But there is more work to be done. Private sector players make long-term investment decisions in an environment with predictable policies, among them tax policies. My administration is finalizing a new tax policy guideline that have gone through various stakeholder consultations, including inputs from AmCham. This policy that will enhance transparency in our tax regime will take effect by June 2023, that is this year, and it will be in place for a minimum of 3 years at least. We're doing this so that you can make your investment decisions knowing exactly how the tax regime will look for the next 3 years. The growth of digital commerce has forced many countries to impose digital service tax measures on income derived in their tax jurisdictions. Kenya has also done the same. But following discussions with players in this sector, we have made a commitment to review this tax regime and align it with a two-pillar solution currently being developed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is an inclusive framework. The framework will guide the taxation of digital commerce transactions going forward once the negotiations are complete. I know many people know what I'm talking about, and we have made this policy shift because we consulted and we listened, and we want to create a win-win partnership. One of the key challenges for business community has been the issue of tax, especially VAT on exported services. This tax not only renders us uncompetitive as a country, but it also inhibits investors seeking to make Kenya their regional or global services hub. Many companies are already operating out of Kenya and servicing regional markets. Following consultations again with stakeholders, VAT on exported services will be removed in the finance bill. Let me take that again. Maybe I could get some more applause. Following consultations with stakeholders, VAT on exported services will now be removed in the finance bill in the coming budget in June this year. The issue of tax refunds has remained a thorn in the flesh for many companies. Not local companies alone, even foreign companies and many corporates that work with us. The government of Kenya is making again a policy shift on this matter. And as a result, effective June this year, all verified tax refund claims will be payable within 6 months. I know that has been said somehow before. But let me say this additionally. If, for whatever reason, a refund is not made by the Kenya Revenue Authority within this period, the taxpayer can offset their claim against future tax liability without further application to the Kenya Revenue Authority. The statement I am making is that if it is okay for you to pay your tax in time, it must be okay for you to get your tax refund in time. And if we fail, for whatever reason, after you have paid your tax in time, I am saying, after 6 months, all verified tax refunds you can net off from what you are supposed to pay to the government of Kenya. That way, we will eliminate any possibility of tax refunds outstanding for more than 6 months. And I think that is, we have taken that policy position because I have had this challenge of tax refunds ever since I became part of government. The government of Kenya is keen to make Kenya the top innovation hub on the continent and attract new ideas, often executed by startup companies. However, I have received complaints that we impose what we call employee benefit tax on allocated shares to employees of startup companies, even before any value is realized on these shares. I'm proud to announce that the government of Kenya will exempt startup companies from paying taxes. The government of Kenya will exempt startup companies from paying taxes on such unrealized gains on employee allocated shares starting July 1 this year. I know I'm speaking to many Kenyan startups. I know I'm also speaking to many startups from everywhere in the world. It's only fair that we give these startups a chance to be by not imposing unnecessary restrictions, especially when initially they are not able to pay as much for their employees, and in exchange, they want to allocate some shares. It's not fair for anybody to be asked to pay tax on shares that you have been allocated before you sell the shares. I think you can only pay tax when you sell the shares. I am committed to make Kenya one of the most attractive places to do business. As you may know, Kenya has been ranked the third most attractive place to do business in Africa by World Bank under its ease of doing business scheme. We continue to build on this success story. We are also reviewing our special economic zones and export processing zones laws to remove impediments to attracting new local and foreign investments. The raft of amendments are under stakeholder consultations, and Moses Kuria will bear me witness, and we intend to have a new set of incentives by July 1 this year. The national ICT policy requires foreign ICT entities that set up in Kenya to have a 30% domestic equity. This position is untenable and has made it impossible for large corporations to invest in Kenya. As a result, we will review this position and remove the requirement of 30% equity to facilitate greater investment in the ICT sector. And additionally, our data protection law is aligned to support robust growth in data storage. I am sure that AWS have something to report. In fact, I was persuaded by a good gentleman from Amazon Web Services that it was impossible for Amazon to cede 30% equity to any entity they didn't have a business relationship with. And as a result, they were holding their investment in our country. I hope Amazon, now that I have kept my part of the bargain, now that I have kept my part of the bargain, I hope you keep yours. And it's not just about Amazon. It's about all other ICT companies that want to invest in our country. Kenya has one of the most developed financial services sector in the continent. We are ripe for the establishment of an international financial center in Nairobi to attract global financial players. To continue to reinforce this strong position, we are working with organizations such as Financial Action Task Force to ensure Kenya fully complies with the relevant international standards on money laundering and terrorist financing activities, so as to make this international financial center a reality. And Moses Kuria has marching orders on what he needs to do for us to make this reality. And to cement our partnership in trade and investment, the American Chamber of Commerce, the government of Kenya, and the United States have today, right in front of us here, launched a trilateral business dialogue to address and resolve the challenges of U.S. investors and businesses in Kenya. This new trilateral platform, scheduled to meet every 3 months, will serve as a key convening body to jointly tackle investment challenges and is a demonstration of the government of Kenya's commitment to hearing directly from the U.S. business community. I wish to affirm that we are determined to deliver on every single undertaking, pledge, and commitment, both to our friends and to all our citizens. I will now cover a few areas where interesting activities is taking place to highlight the opportunities and progress in Kenya. We are interested in modernizing food production to achieve food security and anchor agro-industrial manufacturing. The lifting of the long-awaited ban on GMO crops is intended to bestow the benefits of safe technology to support agricultural abundance. The Kenya food exports to the U.S. increased by nearly 10% in 2022 to reach US dollars 190 million. There are opportunities to leverage US-Kenya investments and collaboration to grow the agricultural sector and take full advantage of the US market. Del Monte, for example, the largest private sector employer in Kenya, has invested US dollars 5.5 million in a new state-of-the-art fruit packaging facility as part of its diversification program. The facility has a processing capacity of 60,000 metric tons of fresh fruits and vegetables a year and has created 280 jobs already. Del Monte's plan is to source pineapples, avocados, mangoes, French beans from local growers in Murang'a, Kiambu, Machakos, and other counties, engaging about 2,000 farmers. I am delighted to share that Kentegra, that was already mentioned by Moses, a US-Kenya company at the forefront of restoring our country's position as the leading producer of organic pyrethrum insecticides, is building a new pyrethrum refinery in Nakuru. With support from the US government, this refinery will benefit about 90,000 farmers in 5 counties I had the privilege to connect Ambassador Meg with the 5 governors so that they can provide scale for this factory. And in fact, as the Nakuru Governor Susan Kihiga said in January when she announced the new investment, and I quote her, "I am a very big champion of pyrethrum, and I'm convinced we can make it one of our main cash crops and best money maker again." This reminds us of where Kenya was a few years ago. The Kenya-US partnership is at the center of this industrial revival. Synergy, a US investment and innovative company founded by young Massachusetts Institute of Technology graduates that turns waste into fertilizer, fuel, and animal feed, will expand their farm and organic waste collection, more than doubling their production of affordable, locally produced agricultural inputs to the benefit of at least 10,000 farmers. The expansion of the factory will also create at least 300 new jobs. Leveraging US agriculture and green technology solutions can help Kenyan farmers adapt to drought and climate change. For example, the partnership with US solar irrigation company SunCulture will expand their pay-as-you-go model to make this technology accessible to more than 10,000 Kenyan farmers, with a potential for increasing their yields and incomes by up to 40%. Hello Tractor, a company the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden, visited when she was in Kenya last month, is an agtech company that connects tractor owners and smallholder farmers through its tractor sharing application. With John Deere, they are scaling up operations throughout Kenya, combining Hello Tractor's ability to unlock the last mile of digital agriculture with John Deere's sector know-how and investment creates significant opportunities to add additional services to smallholder farmers, such as climate-smart agriculture, operator training, and agronomist services. iProcure, the largest agricultural supply chain platform in rural Africa, will scale up its distribution model to reach an additional 1 million smallholder farmers in Kenya with affordable agricultural inputs. I was amazed when I came across this great investment in Western Kenya and what they are doing. I am also excited about the US company Victory Farms. People may not know that Kenya is home to the fastest growing aquaculture company in sub-Saharan Africa. Victory Farms is producing high-quality tilapia, empowering communities, and also creating employment. New investments secured into Victory Farms will see them quadruple their production, creating thousands of jobs for women entrepreneurs while supplying affordable, safe, and high-quality fish protein to millions of Kenyan consumers. And of course, the big story, the apparel sector, is soaring and primed for even more growth. Kenya's 2022 apparel exports to the United States hit an all-time high of US dollars 544 million, a 21% increase from 2021, and over 60% of our export to the US last year. And by the way, the US is now Kenya's largest export market, importing $892 million worth of goods, US dollar worth of goods from Kenya last year. We also imported, we're not doing badly. We also imported US dollars 600 million of goods and services from the United States last year. This is balanced by all indications. And this is sustainable trade with lots of room for growth. Iconic US brands are sourcing in Kenya, including Calvin Klein, Levi, Lee, and Wrangler. Specifically Wrangler, because I have 2-3 shirts in my wardrobe. In recent years, new factories like MAS and Hella have entered the market, creating more than 12,000 jobs in the past 2 years. Since I came into office, new partnerships have been launched with a number of leading manufacturing companies, including the aforementioned MAS and Mega, Coastal Apparels, UAL, that will create an additional 20,000 jobs and increase exports by an additional US dollars 200 million in the next 2 years. And I must give credit, due credit, to Meg Whitman. If there was a possibility for one ambassador to represent 2 countries, Meg Whitman would be one of them. She has ably represented the US, and she has, in a very sterling way, represented Kenya. We are also working with best cooperation on a new apparel manufacturing facility in Kenya to be launched mid this year, with plans to hire another 2,400 new employees. Kohinoor Elastics, the first elastic manufacturing investment in Kenya in a long time, will be launched this year. Additionally, US company NextGen will build a state-of-the-art apparel label and packaging facility that has already broken ground and will be operational by September. Let me talk a bit about innovation. From the Silicon Savannah to the green energy sector, many innovative companies are already calling Kenya home. Like agriculture and apparel, there is huge growth potential in this priority sector. Kenya is a global leader in clean energy solutions. US companies are big investors in Kenya and East Africa's off-grid sector, with more than 40% market share. These companies are providing millions of people with access to life-changing benefits of power in rural Kenya. In the past year, these companies have provided more than 860,000 Kenyans with access to off-grid connections and worked with industry leaders to raise more than $120 million for the development of the sector. US company Delight alone will support at least an additional 600,000 households to access clean energy solutions. Milele Energy, a US company, has just concluded a deal to acquire part of the Turkana wind power project, one of the largest in Africa and producer of over 20% of Kenya's electricity in 2022. This is together with plans for expansion. Sympion Power, another American company, is closing in on a deal to develop a geothermal plant in our Rift Valley. I am also delighted that plans are moving forward for Kipeto 3 right here in Ngong, a new 50-megawatt grid-connected wind power plant with an integrated battery storage component for the first time. In January, Africa's largest network of interconnected data center facilities, Africa Data Centers, announced they were expanding their presence in Kenya by opening a new second data center in Nairobi. The data center and several more we are expecting in the coming months will further serve as the backbone of our Silicon Savannah future, providing secure digital infrastructure and open, interoperable, and reliable internet. In fact, at our leading private-owned special economic zone, Tatu City in Kiambu County, CCI Global, the largest business processing outsourcing company in Kenya, is doubling its workforce from 4,000 to 8,000. I had a conversation with Tatu City, and we are finalizing some incentives for them so that we can bring additional outsourcing companies into our country, because we have the best workforce anywhere in the world, and we are very proud of it. In the next year, again, CCI will add 4,000 jobs in Kenya for American clients like United Airlines, Spirit Airlines, JetBlue, AT&T, and Shipped. These are new jobs for young Kenyans, largely between 18 and 24 years, who are known by international brands for their highest level of customer service. Thanks to CCI and its American clients, Kenyan hospitality has gone global. On the Silicon Savannah, I know Kenya can further hone our technology ecosystem to attract business and become the premier destination on the continent for big tech companies and vibrant startups, full-stack software engineering, quality assurance, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, e-commerce, fintech, agtech, sales and marketing, and finance jobs. And that is why we are rolling out an extra 100,000 kilometers of broadband connectivity to make it possible for these fintechs to work with us. And looking forward to Africa's future, Kenya is also the continental leader in e-mobility and 2- and 3-wheeler electric vehicle and buses. As I told you, we just came from Brussels to expand discussions around e-mobility and to make it possible for us to continue to lead the way in ensuring that we green not just our grid, but we also green our roads and rail. We are home to over 30 e-mobility companies, including industry leaders like Kiri-Eve, Rome, Basico, Arkwright, PowerHive, while attracting regional players like Ampersand, who expanded into the Kenyan market with U.S. support, and U.S. electric vehicle industry leader, Rivian, who has e-Safari vehicles operating in Kenya. I was lucky to be in one of them recently. These companies and many others are raising significant capital, transforming Kenya and transforming Africa's future. Finally, I want to highlight the medical and pharmaceutical sector, where I have a major announcement to make today. It is with pleasure that I announce a finalized deal between Moderna and the government of Kenya to build a $500 million mRNA vaccine facility in Nairobi. Because of this facility and what we had to put in it. I've never had as many sleepless nights and so much trouble from Ambassador Meg Whitman. I am very happy that finally this is done. This will be the only such facility on the African continent. And for Moderna, their first factory outside the United States. Moderna's close to 70 billion investment will be a catalyst for the medical and pharmaceutical industry, not just in Kenya, but in our continent. This is truly historic. This is major. This is my administration's vision for the future of Kenya. And for the record, MCC is on the way. I think we are in the final stages of finalizing the negotiations around MCC. I will be consulting with our legislature to provide the necessary legal framework for us to actualize that investment, again, by the U.S. government. It is now my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to invite a great lady. I have had many meetings with her, Shannon Klinker of Moderna, to virtually share some insights on this investment and append her signature virtually on the agreement.
Your Excellency, Dr. Whitman, the Honorable Ambassador Whitman, other cabinet secretaries, representatives of the U.S. government, and distinguished guests. As the steward of Moderna's global public health strategy, it is my distinct pleasure to join you to finalize our agreement to establish an mRNA manufacturing facility in Kenya. This is a momentous occasion. This marks the promise of Moderna's first mRNA manufacturing facility in Africa. And it is grounded in our commitment to being part of the ecosystem that supports the public health needs of Kenya and all people across the African continent. This agreement is a key pillar of Moderna's global public health strategy. With it, we will bring mRNA innovation to Africa to address areas of high unmet need, such as acute respiratory infections, as well as persistent infectious diseases like HIV and outbreak threats such as Zika and Ebola. It also demonstrates our great confidence in the investment climate in Kenya and the importance of utilizing mRNA technology to build resilience in health security in Africa. Our shared desire for a healthy ecosystem for vaccines development and manufacture for the continent is amplified by the expanding role of industry in East Africa. Moderna is building towards regionally responsive manufacturing. And with this agreement, we now have commitments to establish mRNA manufacturing facilities in Kenya, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States, furthering health security around the world. Moderna has spent more than a decade refining our mRNA platform to accelerate the pace and success of mRNA medicines. The speed, scale, and flexibility of our mRNA platform is uniquely suited for rapid response to serious international epidemics. We will prioritize development efforts against pathogens identified as persistent global health threats, including HIV, tuberculosis and malaria, neglected tropical diseases, and the priority pathogens of the World Health Organization and the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. And we are committed to advancing into clinical studies a portfolio of 15 vaccine programs targeting emerging or neglected infectious diseases by 2025, advancing vaccines that address current diseases of significant impact to low and middle income countries, and those that prepare for serious international epidemics. We have much work to do, together as we strive to enable access to manufactured mRNA vaccines in Kenya and to build the capability to rapidly scale and respond to public health emergencies in the continent and around the world. Your Excellency President Ruto, on behalf of Moderna's Board of Directors and our CEO, Stéphane Bancel, we are very grateful to you and your government for your vision and partnership in this endeavor. And we are also deeply grateful for the leadership of the Honorable Meg Whitman and for her instrumental support of me and of this project. Partnerships like this one are essential to exploring the possibility of mRNA to tackle the world's greatest global public health threats. I look forward to all that is ahead of us as we work together to positively impact human health. Thank you.
Let me invite Moses Kuria, Cabinet Secretary for Investment, and the Principal Secretary for Investment. Hang on, Shannon. You're not going anywhere yet. To join me here on stage, and Ambassador Meg Whitman. With a lot of humility, please. Shannon, are you there?
I am.
Some tech expert need to tell us how a virtual signing ceremony is done. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's how it looks. Thank you, Shannon. You've been exceptional. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as a lifelong hustler, I understand business. The Kenya government understands business. If your business is already here, we welcome your investment, partnership, and future expansion. If you're not here, as we say in Kiswahili, Karibu Kenya, welcome to Kenya. I saw, while I was traveling, the US ambassador's post on the embassy website that read, "Why Africa? Why Kenya?" Meg, it is my hope that I have ably demonstrated in my address that Africa is the continent of opportunities and Kenya means business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for that wonderful, wonderful speech. Come on, let's just give him another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for a wonderful delivery. And now we have the answer for why Kenya, why Africa. We are equally able known now. Your Excellency, with your permission, we have 3 photos we'd like to take. So with your kind indulgence, I'll request that we have the AmCham board kindly just come to the stage. AmCham board, if we can start with the AmCham board, kindly come to the stage. We only have 3 photos we're going to take, Your Excellency, with your permission, so that we can now come to the conclusion, the reasonable conclusion to this particular event. AmCham board. The next picture we're going to take is the USG delegation, so just get ready. But we'll start with the AmCham board. Your Excellency, with your permission, we'll ask you to join them. The next is USG delegation.